You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth! Time! Tell us about yourself. Who are you?
Tell me!
It is a gift. A privilege.
Behold! My stuff.
Now you want to get nuts! Come on! Let's get nuts.
I like it.
I know, it's great, right?
Another!
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to the return of the Meaning of Fandom. This is where we gather a group of people together and we discuss what a particular character or fandom means to them and why. And we also take your comments and questions. I am your host, Ryan of And I Quote Channel. And boy, do we have a star-studded panel for you on this return episode, I should say, of the Meaning of Fandom. Please welcome our good friend and frequent contributor to And I Quote in the last several weeks. Please welcome of All-Star Fandom himself, Dion is in the building. Yeah.
Yo,
what's up, Dion? How are you?
Hey, thanks for having me again, man. I've been pretty much regular. You're gonna have to jump on mine, on my show too, because we got to do some crossover episodes too. Because the Acolyte was fun. I'm now reading Star Wars books, so shout out to Jen on that one. But yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, I'm thankful that you're here. And yeah, Jen has a lot of great book recommendations for anyone who's interested in learning more about the lore of Star Wars. So we'll have to keep that in mind as we go along. But also, join us is someone who was familiar to the And I Quote stage. He has been a guest on the flagship show of our network, also known as And I Quote. Please welcome Ray Jameson to the stands. Hello, Ray. How are you?
I'm doing well. Really good to see everybody here. Really looking forward to participating in the show.
No, well, we're very happy to have you here. We appreciate you being here. And also join us. I was just on this gentleman and his co-host podcast just about a week ago, I suppose. Please welcome Chris Ingle to the stage. Hello, Chris. Good to see you, good sir. Live long and prosper, I'm assuming?
Yes, live long and prosper.
All right, man. All right. Maybe McConaughey will show up in the next Star Trek movie. That'd be cool. Anyway, also, yeah, I know. Go, keep on dreaming, kids. Keep on dreaming. But hey, a person can dream, can they? That's not illegal in this country. But anyway, please welcome a good friend. Someone I've been very anxious and excited to have on the show because this man knows so much. He's written so many books in so many different genres, and he's also just a fan of stuff in general. Behold my stuff. Please welcome indie author and Kickstarter extraordinaire. Kickstarter is going on right now for the Tom Myers series. Bobby Nash is here. Hello, indie author Bobby Nash. How are you, good sir?
It's good to be back. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, very happy that you are with us. Now, if you have any comments or questions for our panelists about any of the fandoms that we're discussing here, or if you want to share some of your favorite fandoms and what they mean to you specifically, let us know in those comments. Let us know in the chat. Do not forget to like and share this episode with all of your closest friends. And if you're joining us live or on a replay, we thank you so much for being with us. And the Dutch Star Wars guy, also known as Kay, says, "Hey there, nice intro." That's because you are the one who put it together there, Dutch Star Wars guy. Thank you so much. Appreciate it, man. The intro was great, and it's getting us off to a rocking good time. So without any further ado, I'm going to turn things over to our first panelist. And before I allow them to speak, Chris, if I may, since, you know, first time here, first time in the studio, we're very happy to have you here. Chris Ingle, before we turn things over to you and you share with us what a particular character or fandom means to you and why, and we're going to get everybody's thoughts on these fandoms as well as we go throughout the course of this program, we have this to share with you. Take a look.
Space, the final frontier.
The adventures you love are here.
Welcome aboard, Voyager.
Celebrate the 40th anniversary of one of the most exciting franchises in television history, Star Trek on DVD. Bring home every episode.
Get started.
From every series.
I am Locutus.
40 years of thrilling action.
Full power.
Amazing missions.
Resistance is futile.
Captivating encounters.
What is it?
It's a tribble.
And groundbreaking moments are all available on DVD.
Take us out of orbit, Mr. Sulu. Ahead, warp back to 1.
Including the original series.
Mr. Scott, ready to beam up.
The Next Generation.
Engage.
Deep Space Nine.
Fire at will.
Voyager.
Energize.
and Enterprise.
Lock phase cannons.
And look for the newest addition to the Star Trek family, the Star Trek Fan Collectives. Created for the fans, by the fans. 4 new 4-disc collector sets with classic episodes chosen by the fans, featuring brand new text commentaries.
Fascinating.
The journey home is now complete.
You and the others are about to make history.
Look for the entire Star Trek universe on DVD.
I mean, you know, it doesn't get any more hype than that, right, folks? Chris, you're welcome, by the way. We work very hard to make our people feel welcome here. We spend no expense. So, Chris, I'm guessing it has something to do with, I don't know, Trek and the Star or something like that. So, Chris Single, Star Trek is your fandom. Tell us, why does it mean so much to you and why?
I think Star Trek stands for the hope that we desperately need in the world. You know, this begins in the mid 60s with the Cold War going on strong, and we needed something that was a symbol of the possibilities to what mankind could achieve. And it has stayed that way. Even when it goes into its darker sides in the new Trek, at its core, it is still all about not just the exploration of the universe, of the galaxy, but the exploration of mankind and the exploration of existence. I mean, I can't think of another series that is as successful at being able to put succinctly the core of what mankind is and to question those things. So many episodes pop into my head that deal with concepts that we still look at today. I'm a teacher. I teach English, and I use Star Trek to show my kids examples of topics and things in a unique way. It doesn't all have to be boring nonfiction literature. You can look at an episode of Star Trek from any of the series and be able to follow it and be able to go, yeah, that is me. That is what's going on. And it's just absolutely fabulous. And the characters, you can't tell me that if you truly watch all of the series, even haphazardly, you can't find a character that you resonate with. You know, everything resonates. Me, I was a Wesley Crusher kid. A lot of people hated Wesley. I love Wesley. I was that kid that was this uber genius. Nobody appreciated him. Shut up, Wesley. That was done to me a lot. Well, it was shut up, Chris. And I love it so much. But I think the biggest thing was the fact that my dad and I, my stepfather, but he's my dad, he raised me. We didn't have a lot going on with, each other. We didn't get along. We argued with each other. My father was a drug addict, a very devout drug addict for a long time, and an atheist. I'm a Christian and clearly not a drug addict. So we argued and differentiated a lot of things. But the few things that we absolutely could agree on was watching Next Generation together, watching Voyager together. He didn't let me stay up for DS9 because it was in syndication and it was on at 9 o'clock, and my bedtime was clearly 8 o'clock. So that never happened until I was older. But that's what we bonded in. And the movies, the first movie I remember my father taking me to, my father, who doesn't like crowds, we went and saw a full house to see Star Trek Generations. Those are memories I won't forget. And Star Trek provided that. It is, again, a look at humanity at its best, even when we're at our worst.
Well, I think it's fair to say, I mean, the line just has to be drawn here and this far, no further. And I will make them pay for what they've done. I'm sorry. I love First Contact so hard. That's my favorite Star Trek movie of all time. It's what got me into Star Trek to begin with. So good stuff. Appreciate you sharing that with us, Chris. Yeah, I didn't get into Star Trek till many years later. I didn't start watching Star Trek until like 2 years ago, maybe 3. Bought the Blu-ray set, as you and I discussed on your podcast, between you and the Mystical One, Brennan. I watched the movies and I thought, you know what? First Contact is boss in the Borg. I mean, come on. So good.
Real quick. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, Picard's the man. He's my favorite captain. And Patrick Stewart is a boss. Like, he's been a badass for so many decades and so many performances, whether it's in, smaller films, maybe some more popular films. And of course, Professor Charles Xavier, man. I mean, Charles Xavier is one of the greatest roles of his career.
He's absolutely great, but Spock also, you know, and it
True.
reminds me when I was little, my dad was very hard on me getting my chores done. And if I didn't, my dad's an early bird. He'd get you up at 5 a.m. and you go complete your chores. He was that hard. One day he wakes me up at 5 a.m. on a Saturday and I'm like, oh, what did I do now? And he's like, no, you need to get out here now. And he sits me down on the couch. He's like, no, you have to watch this. And it was The Trouble with Tribbles. And that's what he did it for The Cage. I remember it for The Cage. He showed me The Cage when it was on TV. Like there were little moments like that where he would surprise me, and you know, we'd go into TOS because TOS was not on TV when I was it was TNG. This is the, you know, TNG was in about sixth season maybe. So that's, you know, kind of where we got into, and I'll never forget those moments of I love Trouble with Tribbles now for that reason. In The Cage, it's great to see that. I'm like, where's Kirk? No, there's no Kirk here. What do you mean there's no Kirk? You know, and he had to explain to me the lore that no, there was a captain before that. I'm like, it grew on me, and those moments are just joy, and Star Trek provided that.
No, it's good stuff, man. And I'm a fan of Trek, to a certain degree myself. So it's all well and good. So
you guys are making me feel old.
Hey! No one's old here, Bobby boy. Come on, we're all young at heart.
I remember because I was born in the 70s, and I remember after school, you know, Star Trek would be on after school in syndication, and I would come home, and while I was having my after school snack, my mom would let me watch Star Trek before she kicked me outside to play. And so Star Trek held a lot of, and I was an only child, you know, for the first 9 years of my life. And so I would go out and play whatever I had watched on TV. So the backyard became whatever planet of the week it was. And so Star Trek became a big part of my imagination, and going out and, you know, going on landing parties and getting in fights and running through the woods and all that fun stuff that Star Trek did, you know.
Running through the woods and sending your phasers from stun to kill. Yeah, if anyone attacks us, we could blink them to death. Anyway, sorry, that's another line from a different property that's not relevant to these proceedings. But I grew up in the 90s. What are you going to do, fellas? It happens. Ray Jameson, kind sir, any thoughts on Star Trek?
Well, for me, especially with TV shows, the big one that hits me is the score, the soundtrack, and pretty much all music related to Star Trek is orchestrated, and that style of music is timeless. You were mentioning earlier, Chris, about an ideal to strive for, some type of hope for us. I'm paraphrasing, of course, as us as a society, or as a civilization, I should say, to move forward and be awesome together, for lack of better wording. The music really hits that with me, and they're all different. So if you think of like the first one, where it's very like retro UFO style, it for me, I really feel like it's what's out there in the great blackness. And then when you have something like Enterprise, it's more engaging, it's more adventure. Dun, 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 dun. And I'm not going to imitate every song. I'll do one more. I believe it's Voyager, where it's more about a combination of the great unknown, but it's boldly going out the bum, 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 and I always appreciated the music in any Star Trek show just for that reason, because the people that composed it, they knew exactly what they're doing, and their mission to make you feel what they're trying to convey, they did with flying colors. I really loved that about the music. The first one I saw was Generations in regards to movies. I didn't really see the older ones with Will Shatner and Nimoy and the rest of them until I was older. But First Contact, or my apologies, Generations, I thought it was very interesting to see them give William Shatner that swan song, that send-off. And I was born in the mid-early 80s, so when those came out, I wasn't even 20, I was an adolescent. So they just left that impact. And the last one, First Contact, you already mentioned. That one was very interesting, seeing Picard have the repercussions of good and bad actions and being turned into Locutus, and how does a human live with that while still fighting this stuff. And suddenly this person who has all of this is an overused phrase nowadays, but post-traumatic stress disorder, you could really see his struggle of, I have to save all of Earth from the past. And I guess in that movie, the big one for me is when he turns the safety off of the holodeck, pulls out the Tommy gun, shoots the thing, puts it down, and then goes to hit it. It's already gone, but he's just trying to get that out of his system, express all that frustration and all that other emotion of all that trauma in his life. I don't consider myself a huge Trekkie, but you can tell I have watched a lot of episodes of many different shows and movies, and I could just keep babbling on. Like, I think I've hit the highlights of my impressions of Star Trek there.
Well, no, please, let's do. No, I'm just kidding. We can't be here for 6 hours. It's gonna be past Bobby Nash's bedtime. But because Bobby Nash is getting too old for this mess. But it's all right, Bobby. We love you to pieces, brother. You know how we feel about you. But Dion, any thoughts on the Trek and the Stars?
Yeah, well, I've seen a combination of all of those episodes, never in an order, but just if they were on. And I think it was like Next Generation was coming on CBS. Maybe that was the one. I remember my dad watching that one. But as a fan, it didn't hook me. But I understand the fandom because when Leonard Nimoy passed away, you saw this outpouring for that character. You saw, I remember seeing a few posts and then just fans talking about how much that character meant to them and how much, that series entail meant to them as well. And so I knew like the love for it through other people. That's how I sort of experienced their fandom to it, because they would always, I had one friend who was definitely into Star Trek, and I go over to his house on the weekends and stuff like that. And maybe if we're talking about 1 month and I go over there 4 times, he may have coerced me to watch at least 1 or 2 episodes with him. So that's that combination of just all of them. And I understood his fandom and love for it. And again, like once I saw all the outpour for Leonard Nimoy, I was like, okay, that show's special. And obviously that franchise is special too. But as for like a full-on fan, like I said, I've seen a conglomerate of all of them, but never just, so it might be worth a rewatch for me to do it. I'll do it for my friend.
Yeah, seeing Star Trek fans at a convention is eye-opening. There is a lot of outpouring of love and for these actors and the people that have brought these things to life. And seeing, there's a lot. You really get to see too the legacy appeal, because there are people there, getting autographs who weren't born when the shows ended, where they watched it, like you said, you watched it with your parents, became a fan, and that kind of stuff. So it's one of those, much like a lot of long running franchises, it's constantly getting new fandom in, which is great. Because no matter which Star Trek series you watch, and because even though they're all part of one big franchise, they all kind of focus on different things. I mean, Deep Space Nine, which is my particular favorite of all of them, shows how the Federation deals with a war, whereas the original series, the Next Generation, are all peacetime, time when they're having their adventures. Voyager, seeing how they deal with the adversity of being lost, or those kind of. So there's something different for each, and it almost always kind of mirrors what's going on in the world around you. Like Discovery, which just was much darker than the older ones, but they were basing it off a lot of what the world is today, and I think Star Trek holds that mirror up pretty well.
I really like, Bobby, that you mentioned the fandom, because we're on a show talking about fandom, and the way fandoms are expressed today, you don't get without Star Trek. Star Trek really created the idea of the modern fandom.
Yeah.
Well, certainly conventions. I mean,
it was a pillar, man.
Yeah,
very true.
Big time. I mean, there's 2 conventions I go to every year, Farpoint and Shore Leave. They're named after Star Trek, literally. So I'm thinking to myself, boy, I didn't know Star Trek was that deep that it has its own little sublets called, there's Shore Leave in Lancaster, PA, and then there's Farpoint in in Maryland, which is where I am particularly. So I'm just like,
but yeah, they were some of the first to have a convention. Not only to have conventions where the people that worked on the show came and interacted with fans, but also it was one of the first ones where I heard of people dressing up as the characters.
Klingons too.
Yeah.
Lots of Klingons. Be careful of those things. Anyway, sorry, that was my poor attempt today. But
that's
anyway.
all right. And you think the Federation fans, if you ever go to a convention where J.G. Hertzler and Robert O'Reilly, the two main Klingons, Gowron and Martok.
Oh, the other guy.
Oh my God! I mean, these people, those two are royalty when you walk in, and the Klingons see them, and it's just
Raging Cajun.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Wonderful.
First we charge the card, then we blow it up. And life don't get much better than that with that explosion of fandom between Star Trek Klingons and whatnot. For those of you wondering what the Bantha fodder is going on, boy, we're dropping all kinds of lines from different fandoms over here. But this is the Meaning of Fandom, where we're talking about specific characters or fandoms. That means something special to our panelists as well as you and why. Feel free to let us know your questions or some of your favorite fandoms in those comments or those live chat down below. And if you're watching us live on a replay, we thank you specifically for being with us. And do not forget to like and share this with all of your fellow fans out there. So without any further ado, I'm going to turn things over to our next panelist. Before I turn things over to a gentleman by the name of, let me see here if I have this right, Ray Jameson, we have this for you. Take a look.
Just out on video, a great new movie with the hottest action heroes ever. Let's go! Gargoyles, the movie. Now you can own the story of how the legend began.
What are you?
Humans call me Goliath. Once they guarded a kingdom. Now they must protect New York from Xanatos and the Steel Clan. Gargoyles, the movie. And now look for 2 new Gargoyles videos coming this fall.
Well, speaking of intersecting fandoms and all these different things going on between Star Trek and Gargoyles, because there's a lot of Star Trek veterans that are voiceovers in the hit television series Gargoyles.
Plus the same announcer in both videos.
That's right.
Speaking of crossovers.
Dude, I didn't even think of that. Bobby, I didn't even think of that. Thank you for bringing that up.
That man was well employed.
Exactly, yeah. So, Ray Jameson, you're talking to us about something that goes way back, and I'm talking way back to the 1990s, the golden age.
I wouldn't go way back.
Oh, way back?
Whatever, man. It's the golden age of TV for us 90s kids that were there. Like, we were rocking it and shocking it like nobody's business, son. So, Ray Jameson, why does Gargoyles, the animated TV series Gargoyles, mean so much to you, and why?
Well, let's begin with this was Disney's attempt, in my opinion. I can't prove it, but in my opinion, this was their attempt at taking back what Warner Brothers was doing with Batman the Animated Series. I thought it was a lot of guts, especially that first season, for something on Disney where we're talking like the spookiest thing was Darkwing Duck, or it was more like Gummy Bears and Tailspin, and suddenly they just dropped this. And the reason I find it so gutsy is it's such a niche audience it appealed to. And the reason, I mean, when it came out, I was 10. Anybody older than me, it's a Disney cartoon. It's cool. It's very cool, but you're missing that audience, and it's definitely not for kids under the age of 10. I was kind of like that very specific group of individuals that it just really hit with me. I thought it was very, very clever, especially that first season. They covered things. Nowadays, everything appears to be, I'm not going to accuse everybody of this, obviously, but everything appears to be politicized nowadays with their messages and their stories, or one could argue that, I guess, is a better way to put it. Gargoyles, they went over like heavy topics without making it feel political. So one episode in that first season was called Deadly Force, and one of the gargoyles, his name is Broadway, he accidentally, playing with Detective Maz's gun, puts her down with a bullet, and then he hides the gun, and he if I remember correctly off the top of my head, he gets attention so she can get taken care of, draws attention to her, disappears, and he's crying, and through the whole episode, he's dealing with this grief everybody else, including the rest of his clan, these gargoyles, they believe that a mafia boss tried to put a hit on the detective. So everybody's looking for this non-existent assassin, and it was Broadway's just sitting there in the background, just being guilty, watching these people waste all their time. But at no point as a kid did I ever feel like I was being preached to about gun control. And at the end, he's like, I shouldn't have played with a gun. And the detective says, I should have been more careful and stored my gun more appropriately. But nowhere did no politics. I was looking back at it from an adult perspective. I thought, wow, it was cool to hear that story without dividing people up over it, kind of thing. I thought that was really cool. You mentioned the crossover to Star Trek. I mean, not just Star Trek, like Gimli was in it. LeVar Burton from Star Trek, Avery Brooke, who was Cisco, Brent Spinner, he played 2 different characters. Kate Mulgrew, she was like, I forget her name.
Titania,
Oberon's wife. Tim Curry was in it, for crying out loud. Michael Dorn.
The Tim Curry was in it?
Tim Curry was in it for 4 episodes. He played
Michael
a
Morbius, or
geneticist.
Dr.
A
Morbius.
geneticist, yeah.
Oh,
And,
wow.
Michael Dorn. Jonathan Frakes was Xanatos.
Yeah, he was good, man.
He was excellent. And
great as a villain.
And then, of course, let's not forget Keith David, who voiced Goliath. He also voiced Spawn. And
Legend.
he voiced Black Panther in the 90s Fantastic Four cartoon.
Oh.
Marina Sirtis.
Yeah, Marina.
Disney was throwing money at this like money was going out of style or something. And one of my favorite story arcs is Xanatos' right hand, whose name is Owen. In the first season, he's basically Batman's Alfred for Xanatos. And by the end of the second season, it's actually revealed that he's Puck. And Xanatos made a pact with him to either get one wish come true or have his lifetime's worth of service as from a human servant who he created as Owen, or disguises himself as Owen. They're both voiced by Brett Spinner, but as a kid, I mean, looking back, it's very obvious. It's very obvious that the 2 voices are the same person. But when I was a kid, I had no idea that they were going to make that connection. That's like a very long story thing that they do this huge reveal later. And they're both like Commander Data. And it's just so cool, you know? We were talking very briefly before the stream started. I mentioned I had a tinfoil hat conspiracy theory. Season 3 was very poorly received, and it was only 13 episodes, if I remember. I think it was 13 or 15. Anyways, the second episode, or the second season rather, apparently what happened, the first season was so dynamic and it was so well received that season 2, Disney wanted a ridiculous amount of episodes for it. The creators didn't want to do that, so the story arc involving, going to Avalon and then coming back, one of their ways of making filler episodes was, well, you're not going right back. You're going to go to all these random places, meet these filler gargoyles, and do this cool stuff. But my brother and I had this joke that there are certain story arcs that involve what they call the Illuminati. And my brother and I used to joke, they mentioned the Illuminati, so guess what? Season 3 is going to be your last season because you mentioned the Illuminati. That's my tinfoil hat conspiracy. It was very unfortunate that last season it had a lot of flack. There were some story arcs I liked, but it was definitely phoned in compared to, especially season 1, but also season 2.
Wow, that's interesting. I haven't seen this show in almost 30 years, so I need to go back. Clearly, I need to go back and revisit it because I haven't watched it since I was a little kid.
Season 1 stands by itself, but I mean, I even enjoy season 3, but season 1 is the best one. Season 2, I like it just for all the payoff story arcs, but season 1 is definitely the best.
Right. And we were mentioning this as you were talking Marina Sirtis, Deanna Troy's in this as Demona.
As Demona, one of my favorite antagonists.
Yeah. She looks really good in a cat suit on national television, but when you get her voice in a bit of a, evil / anti-hero, a bit of a seductress kind of character on Gargoyles, like, Marina Sirtis, what are you trying to tell me here? What's going on?
I would argue.
Is there more to her than just the beautiful cat suit, or what?
I would argue that Demona's story arc is the best out of all the characters in that show, which comes to a zenith in season 2, City of Stone. I forget how many parts that story arc is, how many episodes it is, but it shows how she survived so long over those hundreds and hundreds of years. It showed exactly one of the best things I like about villains. You look at MCU's Thanos, even if you disagree with them or think it's flawed logic, less humans or less individuals consuming resources means we can thrive longer. Okay, I get that. I'm not going to agree that's a good solution, but I see the logic behind it. Damona's story arc leading up through all of that, up to City of Stone, was very much, okay, I understand, and I'm very compelled at what you're trying to do here. I'm still not reading for you, but you're really awesome. Let's see where this goes.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Perfectly balanced, as Thanos strikes us.
Yes.
Tries to attempt to do with that little pen or pencil, whatever it was that he was balancing on his finger when he was talking to young Gamora. And the other thing is, if you see Thanos walking down the street, just make sure that you aim for the head.
Yes,
all right?
aim for the head.
Just make sure you aim for the head.
Time.
Don't. Yeah, exactly. Because otherwise, he's going to be inevitable, and he's going to do this little thingy bobber where he snaps his fingers and kills half the universe. Don't do it.
And then he'll use the stones to destroy the stones.
Exactly. Thank you. Lots of stones out there. Infinity Stones, anybody? Infinity Gauntlet? Where is it? Anyway, Dion, what are your thoughts on Gargoyles from the 90s?
So I'm currently rewatching it. I'm at the Avalon season, so I'm going back and forth. A bit annoyed because I thought they were going to go back to New York, but they keep going to these certain places that sort of continue the story, right? So I understood it as we kept going on, but we didn't have cable, so I didn't really watch it when on a Disney channel. So I got the ABC watered down version for Saturday mornings. But then as we got cable, there were reruns somewhere. I think Disney may have still been running those reruns late at night as I got older, and I watched a few there. But it wasn't until a few weeks ago where I was on Disney Plus, and I was like, you know what? I don't remember fully watching this. I remember liking it, but I don't remember fully throwing myself into it. First season was amazing. Animation was top notch,
yes,
especially for Disney too.
Yes,
you can see where when you don't have so many episodes, the quality that goes into the few that you have. So I'm glad they pushed back a little bit on that. But Keith David, I love him in everything. I could just hear him like narrate or put him on. You know what? Let me listen to a book that an audio book of Keith David just doing all my favorite books. I would love to see it. I would love to hear
absolutely.
that. Xanatos. Like I was like, it was great. He's such a good voice. But no, I'm currently rewatching it now. I get the appeal and love for it because I was like, the first season, just like Ray said, it walked a fine line of like dark and light, especially for Disney.
Yes.
And then you say like Disney took this plunge, and then you look at Batman the animated series that I'm sure we'll talk about later. But you look at that was a good combatant between that. But yeah, man, I'm a big Gargoyles fan now again, truly now since I'm actually watching all the episodes. But animation is fantastic, storylines great. I love episodic sort of storytelling for animated series too. I think that's the best use when it's not like just a single off sort of episode.
Gives you reasons to come back the next week.
Can't exactly.
Miss the episode.
Yeah, like someone's fallen and it says continue next week. I gotta come back. Yes. I gotta come back to see if they get caught. I gotta come back to see if whatever happens. Yes. I know they're not gonna die, but I still have to come see it. But no, Gargoyles is perfect. Again, completely like just stellar voice cast from start to finish. Every time I watch now, I always pull up IMDb because I'm like, wait, I know that voice. And so I'm just going every episode. I click next and I'm like, oh, okay, Clancy Brown is okay. That's that voice. So it's
Lex Luthor is in this series too. Clancy Brown. Good Lord.
Yeah, Clancy Brown. There's so many voices.
Jeez, there's like a billion actors in this thing. This is one of the biggest.
Yeah.
As they say in sports, it's a packed house.
Yeah, and then I'm doing it again. I'm like Gimli, like that voice sounds like Gimli.
John Rhys Davies.
Yes.
You mean? By the way, Dion, you mean Sala? Sala's in it. Yeah.
Hey man. Yeah. So I'm just going episode to episode, just hearing the voice cast too. It's perfect. I love Gargoyles.
Very dangerous. You go first. Anyway, that's going back to Bobby Nash's time, but we'll get to that later. Just out of curiosity, Bobby, it's all right, man. Age is just a number. Don't worry about it. Chris, do you have any experience with gargoyles, even though it was maybe a little after your time?
Oh no, it was my time.
Oh, it was your time. Okay.
That was my time.
I thought it was a little bit after, but I might have been wrong.
No, mid 90s, I was
Just
upper elementary school.
Yeah.
And oh man. We often credit J.K. Rowling for reigniting a love of reading with kids. This did it for me. Because the combination of mythology, Shakespeare,
yes,
literary references, mythological references, left and right, had me asking questions. Who is this person? What is this person? Midsummer Night's Dream? Never heard of it. Let's take a look at it. The Scottish play. All of this coming in here was just so engaging, and it can make you ask questions all the time. And it was just so well written. It never talked down to people. I didn't feel like it was poorly drawn, acted, written, nothing. This is what the Disney afternoon peaked at for me.
Mm-hmm.
This is just so amazing. And then, of course, all the Star Trek references, I recognized a lot of those voices as you're going through. And it blew my mind as a kid.
Yes.
And you know what? I know they're doing a reboot of it. I hope it's not live action. I hope it's animated.
Yeah, keep it animated.
I want Jonathan Frakes back.
Dude.
I want
Let's get everybody. Hey, you know what? Marina Sirtis is still walking around somewhere. Let's get her to come back.
My wife and I, we're big board game people. We love board games. We play Disney Villainous, which is a long series of games. It's a lot of fun. You play as the villains. I have been suggesting and emailing about every other month or so. Hey, Xanatos.
Xanatos. Give me Xanatos.
Xanatos.
Or Demona. I don't care. One or the other.
Either one.
If they end up making a movie off of it and it becomes live, the only way I will be interested without kind of groaning,
it's going to be weird,
is if it takes place in the 90s and they don't make it new, like no smartphones,
like no technology.
The information technology down, but keep the lasers up as they have in the cartoon.
We need sharks with freaking laser beams attached to their heads.
But
go ahead.
As
I'm currently watching it, I've often thought about, because I didn't know about like the reboot or anything. I didn't look into
Jordan
that,
Peele at one point was trying to do it,
but I started thinking about like how would a live action Gargoyles movie look? I mean, rough. True, but we've come a long way when it comes to figuring out.
But they run some risks.
True, but sometimes studios rely a little too much on VFX, and I prefer they go back to practical effects, if not just make it animated.
This would have to be more. Oh boy, we can't Ninja Turtles Gargoyles.
No, we can't.
Hold on. See, now hold on.
I love Jim Henson and his crew with the creature shop. They could do it.
Dion, you say that.
Jim Henson could do it, man.
Hold on. The fourth Ninja Turtles film, TMNT, was actually done in a really good style. And I feel that this kind of film would fit into that style of animation.
Yeah, I could see that.
You got a little bit of detail, but it's still cartoony in its own ways. And that's fine.
2006, 2007.
But we saw a lot of good action happen in that film that I think could translate here for Gargoyles.
And they reference the other three films in that TMNT.
They really do.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, you're mentioning what happened here and there. And there's those little.
And the Shredder's gone, and here's his
little Easter eggs. Yeah, the Easter eggs and the scepter from Turtles 3.
And the only other way this works too is if you get, the man, the myth, the legend, Keith David back.
You got to get Keith. You got to get Keith. You got to get him back.
Got to have Keith.
You need as many voices as possible.
But I was just gonna say, I met Keith David at a convention, and people have asked him every time, like, "Would you be willing to come?" He says, "Absolutely, I would come back." So he would do it. Keith David would do it.
Yeah, because he is very tall.
Yeah,
and if it's a movie,
I mean,
and if it's a movie, this sounds crazy, but the man has proven his chops directorially. Let Jonathan Frakes direct it.
Ooh,
yeah, I'd go into that.
Man knows his stuff. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, he did direct my favorite star. He did direct First Contact, so I'll give him that. Which worked. That movie worked brilliantly. So I don't know. That'd be interesting if you had the villain directing a heroes/villain movie. That'd be it. Like, let the villains run the asylum. That's interesting. But yeah, Bobby, just out of curiosity, have you any experience with gargoyles, and not just in your history class when you were a young kid? I'm talking about the TV series.
I know what it is, but I've never actually seen it.
No.
At the time it came on,
93.
That was like that post college. I was working 2 jobs, trying to get the writing career going.
Oh wow!
I was lucky to sleep.
I was lucky to sleep at night.
Yeah, so I missed out on gargoyles. Okay. I've heard good things, but
it's on Disney Plus. # not a sponsor of the show, but if they want to be, call me maybe. As Carly Rae Jepsen once said, what is it, 10, 15? I can't believe that song is so old.
2011, the year I got married.
That song, man, that's crazy. But yeah, Bobby, feel free to watch it on Disney Plus and let us know your 2 cents, because I'd be curious to hear what a gentleman scholar such as yourself would think of gargoyles, voiced by Keith David over there. He's been in so many films too, which is great.
Yes, fantastic actor. Fantastic.
He is. And I met him at a convention. He signed an 8x10 of himself as Goliath. It was great. I was like, hey, my 90s childhood has been brought back. What's up? What's up? So yeah, he was nice. He was nice.
I first noticed him in The Thing.
Yeah, John Carpenter's The Thing. That's right. That's right. Well, what about? Did you see him in They Live? Did you see him in They Live?
Yep.
Just remember, I'm giving you a choice. Either put on those glasses or start eating that trash can. So
Quicken the Dead, gentlemen. Quicken the Dead.
Yeah.
True.
Well, I saw all of those, but the first place I saw him.
and one of the best Disney villains of the 21st century, Dr. Facilier.
Right. Yeah. With what was it called? Princess and the Frog.
Princess and the Frog. Yeah.
By the way, Chris, I'm glad that you brought up Quicken the Dead, because next year is its 30th anniversary, and we're going to be doing a movie watch along for that right here on this.
I'll be there. I love that film.
You love Quicken the Dead?
That is my favorite Western.
It's your favorite? Wow.
It really is.
Wow, that's a good call. It's in my top 5 when it comes to Western. So I'll give you that, brother. It's fun. Is it possible? Is it possible to improve on perfection? Anyway, that's Leo DiCaprio. So listen, we're in the midst of this greatness called the Meaning of Fandom here on Anti-Quote Channel. Do not forget to like and share this with every single person that you know, because we know you know a million people. And if you're joining us live on a replay, we thank you specifically for being with us. If you have any thoughts or questions about any of these fandoms that we have mentioned, or even some of the actors or actresses that have portrayed these characters over the years, let us know in those comments. Let us know in the chat. Be more than happy to hear from you. And I forgot to acknowledge this earlier, and I know this person isn't here right now, but Dutch Star Wars guy said, let me guess, Ingle has Star Trek because we played the Star Trek video at the top of the show. Yes, he does. He's got tons of Star Trek goodness in his heart and in his soul, so we'll just leave it there. But yeah, my gosh, we run a big gamut here, fellas, and we've only reached the tip of the iceberg. So I'm going to turn things over to our next panelist. And before we do, by the way, there's a lot of things that go into this. All fandoms have a lot of ingredients that go into it that make it what it is, right? It's everything from the behind-the-scenes stuff that happens in front of the camera, happens behind the scenes when you're writing the books or putting together the comics, whatever it is. So before we turn things over to our good friend known as Bobby Nash, who's a great guy. He's also got his first Kickstarter going on, by the way, for the Sheriff Tom Myers series, which is a very good series. If you haven't read it, you got to get on it. And don't worry, we will include the link to the Kickstarter in the description of this video here momentarily. But in the meantime, before we turn things over to Bobby, take a look at this.
This job, we try to save as many people as we can. Sometimes that doesn't mean everybody. But you don't give up.
New York, Washington, D.C., Sokovia.
Okay, that's enough.
Captain, people are afraid.
That's why I'm here. We need to be put in check. Whatever form that takes, I'm game.
I'm sorry, Tony. If I see a situation pointed south, I can't ignore it. Sometimes I wish I could.
Sometimes I want to punch you in your perfect teeth.
I know we're not perfect. But the safest hands are still our own.
I was wrong about you.
I'm not the one that needs to watch their back.
This doesn't have to end in a fight, Tony.
You just started a war. Stay down. Final warning.
I could do this all day.
All right, I've run out of patience. On to ruse!
Hey, everyone.
A lot of crossovers going on in that one, guys. Hundreds and thousands of characters booming from one side of the screen to the other, and they're all part of a giant family known as the Marvel Universe. So, Bobby.
Seeing Spider-Man's eyes blink in that was, I mean,
I'm sure your inner 5-year-old was going
Yes.
cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs there, brother.
Because Spider-Man was my intro to comics.
Mm-hmm.
They used to rerun the '60s Spider-Man. You know, when I was a kid, it would rerun in the afternoons. And so that was my introduction to Spider-Man. I just fell in love with the character. Didn't know of anything outside of the comic, of the cartoon. And I was in love. I just fell in love with the character and the concepts, and I thought it was great. And I remember my mom and I were in one of the local supermarkets, and we were in the checkout lane, and they remember they used to put the comics in the 3-packs. That's maybe before all of your times, but they used to put the older comics in 3-packs. And so there was comics there, and there were Spider-Man was 2 of them. You never could see what was in the middle. And I begged my mother, and my mother was not a fan of comics at all. And I think I just bugged her enough that she did it just to shut me up. And so I got this pack of comics. I go home, I open it up, and it's 3 issues of Spider-Man consecutive, which one, I'd never read a comic before. I didn't know what they were. And it's like, ooh, wait, it goes from one to the other and it keeps going. It's one big story. And but yeah, it was issues 192, 193, and 194. For the collectors out there, 194 was the first appearance of the Black Cat. And I was just entranced with them. And that became kicked off my lifelong love of comics. To which here I am all these years later, still reading them and writing them on occasion. And but I also, I the Spider-Man comics and even Star Trek, those are the 2 things that kind of spurred my imagination as a kid, that made me start creating characters, creating stories. Even though I wasn't writing them down just to go play, I found myself being very creative and using those as templates to build on. But that was where my love of comics began. And I've read a bunch of different publishers, but mostly growing up, it was Marvel was my fandom. I didn't know anybody. There were no other kids around me that read comics. So my interest might have died out, but one summer, one of my cousins came to stay with us. He had gotten a job in the state in Georgia, and he stayed with us for the summer. And every Wednesday when he came home from work, he had a stack of comic books. So I, discovered other characters I had never heard of. And that was fun. And then we moved when I was 12. And this is where it really kicked into high gear for me. We moved when I was 12. And the first people I met in the new school was this group of guys that were all big comic fans. And not only were they reading comics, they were making their own. And I was like, ooh, my people, And so I started making my own comics. But they were reading things I had never heard of. Like, I'd never heard of the X-Men, until I ran into them, or Daredevil, or Thor. I didn't know these characters. So it opened up a whole big world for me in terms of what to read. and it just kind of grew from there. And I don't read as many as I used to, but comics are still a big part of me. I've been writing them professionally since 2000. So wow, 24 years. Who knew? So it doesn't seem like it's been that long until I do the math in my head. But I love comics. I love as a reader, I love the storytelling ability. I love seeing the art and the writing mixed together. As a writer of them, one of the coolest things of my job is when art comes into my inbox and I see how the artist has interpreted what I've written for the first time. And it's just a magical, wonderful sensation for me as a creator. So I love comics. I still read a bunch of them. I've become more of that wait for the trade guy that I never thought I would be. And it wasn't so much that I didn't like reading the monthly books. It was more of a financial thing as you get older. And house payment comic books.
What are we gonna do? What are you gonna do this month, guys?
And if I don't pay the house payment, my comics have nowhere to live.
Exactly.
True.
So I've become, so these days I do read a lot of trades. I'll get new trades when they come out, and I still keep up with a lot of old favorites and discover new stuff. Obviously, I've growing up, everything was superhero for me, but as I've gotten older, there's a lot of great non-superhero type of comics out there. I love a good crime comic, some good horror comics, some sci-fi. There's all kinds of stuff out there, but there's that and even though I'm not reading Spider-Man at the moment, Spidey is still kind of like very close to me because that's kind of how it all got started. So.
Right.
So that's it. That was it.
Bit of your origin story there, which is fair. What do you call it? Fair game. Just out of curiosity, that was a follow before I turn things over to these wonderful panelists over here. Favorite animated iteration or voice actor for Spider-Man, and then favorite live action Spider-Man.
Oh, there's been a lot of them. The guy that did the 60s, that voice is ingrained in my head.
Old school, Jerry.
Yes, and when I do sketches, at conventions, I can sketch Spider-Man in my sleep at this point.
I've seen you do it many times.
So I'm always writing at the top. I'll have him say, "Walloping web snappers, Dave. Let's go." And so it's that voice. Paul Souls, I think, is the voice actor.
Oh, is that who the guy was?
I think that's
one of my favorite lines by him is like, "This smells like trouble. Trouble with a capital Tru."
They said that back in '67. Jeez.
Yeah. There is one season that I swear is like an acid trip.
Weren't the creators of the show on acid when they made it?
It's possible. I watched their great little documentary on YouTube recently because the third season they ran out of money basically.
Oh, okay.
And so they started reusing old footage.
Yep, the cityscape.
But Ralph Bakshi took over. And so now suddenly all this stuff, instead of Spider-Man doing things in New York, he's in like some alternate universe for this one.
Jeez.
He gets zapped underground, and it's all very psychedelic.
Good Lord.
There's monsters and aliens, and it's
aliens.
He fights aliens a lot.
It goes hard, man.
Yeah,
that must have been an acid trip for you creators back in the. It was the raging '60s, guys. Let's not forget.
Well,
at one point, Peter Parker was a pitcher for his college. For Empire State University.
Because that's the one with the diamond where he
he accidentally has the diamond and he doesn't want to throw it.
Yeah. All I know is that there's this meme that's been going on for years from that animated series of the three Spider-Man pointing at each other, like, "Who are you? Who are you? I'm Spider-Man. No, you're Spider-Man. No, I'm not."
Well, there was, and if you want, the thing that I didn't notice as much as a kid that you notice when you binge watch them. Because these shows back then were not made to be watched consecutively. For every 22 minute episode of Spider-Man or Batman, the original series, there's only like 10 minutes of new stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
They give you a week, so you tend to forget about some of it. Some of it looks familiar, but
Yeah, like there's one episode where he has something is going on across the street. So we see him change into Spider-Man, and then we get 2 minutes of him swinging through the city. And I'm like, it's across the street.
So that's your favorite
So
animated
that's my favorite
version.
voice.
Yeah, what about live action though? Because this is going to cause a stir in the comments for sure. Whoever you say.
Well, you know that first Tobey Maguire one really was good. I felt that was the first because I remember the '70s Nicholas Hammond one, and it was kind of Spidey in name only.
Yep.
Except for the fact that they had some really cool shots of the guy in the Spidey suit running across rooftops.
Going up there.
Yep.
Oh my God! You know,
old school right there. Yeah.
Yeah, and so, but and that second one with Dr. Octopus it's easily in my top 10.
Yeah,
that is like fantastic.
Yeah. You mean the movie is in your top 10 of comic book movies?
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, that's going to be another interesting topic for a future episode. Is everyone's favorite top 10 comic book movies?
Oh yeah.
We already know Dion's going to throw Blade in there somewhere.
Well, of course. Well, because we wouldn't have
a lot of these.
We wouldn't have a lot of what we have today had Blade not worked.
Right. If it weren't for Blade, X-Men, and Spider-Man, those are the three pillars right there.
All 2 years apart from each other.
Which is insane to think about, by the way.
Yeah, because before then, comic book movies were very rough to watch.
Yeah. Batman and Robin.
We were thrilled to have them.
It's horrible.
It was not common to have a good superhero movie.
It was horrible. 97 was horrible. But we did get the Phantom, and we got the Shadow out of it. Yeah. Which I'm happy about because both of those movies are solid.
But those weren't comic book movies. Those were based on books that weren't comics.
Pulp. What do you call it? Pulp comics?
They were more pulpy stuff. Yeah, like the comic stuff kind of came after the books. So, but yeah, I mean it's cool. Well, they're all kind of superhero-y.
Right.
But now we have this bevy of riches.
We have an influx.
Yeah. Like, because I hear people all the time complaining, oh, they make too many. I hate the term superhero fatigue or comic book movie fatigue because you know what? When I was a kid, I couldn't have dreamed of the day.
And now we're getting 30 comic book movies a year.
I would have thought Doctor Strange and Ant-Man would have their own trilogy.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah, like Benedict Cumberbatch and Paul. I don't seem to age another day. Rudd, playing these characters.
Or the for me too, it was seeing the first time like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. had Crusher Creel and Agnar the Screamer. And I'm like, nobody knows who they are, but holy crap, this is awesome.
I have no idea who they are.
Yeah, but I knew,
Bobby knew because you were there.
Yeah. And so who would have thought we would get? I never thought we would ever get a Fantastic Four movie.
Did we though? Did we ever get a Fantastic Four?
Hey, we got one. Hey,
we've had,
and we got one coming.
And one was on the way.
I mean, I know there's a new one that's in the works, and I'm actually in the process of rewatching the 2005 iteration with Ian Grufford and Michael Chiklis, and Jessica is very beautiful but doesn't seem to know how to act much. Alba, and then you get Julian McMahon as Doom. I thought Julian McMahon as Doom was really solid.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, and for me, growing up when I did reading the comics, to the fact that the Avengers have become the hot ticket. Back in the 70s and 80s,
2012,
you take Captain America out of the equation, Iron Man was a C-list character.
Yeah,
at best.
He was bottom of the barrel.
Nobody knew who Iron Man was.
And now in 2008, everybody knows who he is 20 years later.
This movie comes out, and Iron Man becomes an A-list character.
He becomes a household name overnight.
Yeah, exactly. Like I knew comics had hit mainstream when my mother called me one night and says, "Okay, explain this Thor guy to me."
That was what year was that, by the way? Was that was 2011, if I remember?
Something like that, yeah.
2010, 2011. It was one of the two.
Because my mother, this was not her world. She,
nope.
Had no interest in it. Growing up, she couldn't believe she couldn't wait for me to stop reading comics, and she tried her best to dissuade me.
Oh boy!
Some of my comics did not survive, because when she would get mad,
tore them up, man.
Oh yeah. So
Yeah, you'd be
it
like-
became this. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she didn't start. I kind of laughed. She didn't start appreciating comics until people started paying me to
Paying you
write them.
for it.
Oh, people start paying you to write this stuff? Get out of here.
Then, I kind of see it now. Yeah. So not only is it a fandom I love, it's become a job that I love.
So is that your way of saying your favorite live action version is in fact Tobey Maguire?
No,
Is it Toby? Is he your number one?
No, I think Tom Holland has probably
Tommy Boy?
surpassed him
Okay.
because he feels like Peter Parker to me.
Okay.
Toby,
That's fair.
Toby was good, but by that point too, that was the older Peter.
Mhm.
Like, and
That
we
was
all,
like the 60s version.
and I think
Yeah.
most of us probably grew up with Peter in high school, or and so I think seeing Peter in high school works better for me. And I think Tom has done it well. Yeah.
Spider-Man
It's pretty easy
Homecoming
to
and
break
beyond,
that
yeah.
down. Where for me, Toby is the better Peter.
Mhm,
Garfield is the better Spider-Man, but
Ooh.
Holland brings the two together. Very well.
Well, they did bring him together in Multiverse of Madness.
Yep.
So, or no,
Well,
Spider-Man
No Way Home. Yeah.
No Way Home. Thank
Well,
you.
I remember
Okay,
when the first Tobey Maguire one came out.
Oh, yeah, 2000.
There were several of us.
2002.
There were several of
2002,
us
that was
that
a great
worked
year.
together that would go see these kind of movies.
Sure, yeah.
Like I had friends that were into it, but they didn't like. I remember when we were going to go see the X-Men, my buddy was like, "Oh my God, the X-Men's coming out." My son and I were huge fans of the X-Men. And I'm like, "How long have you been reading the X-Men?" He goes, "There are X-Men comic books."
What?
Because they knew,
What?
They knew the
dude called
cartoon.
Chris
Fan of the
Claremont
X-Men
that
animated
made
series,
X-Men who they are
100%.
today, and Chris
Yeah.
Claremont is one of them.
Yeah, so
Get outta
they knew
here.
the cartoon, and so, but we would go see this, and I remember my buddy at the end of it when Peter walks away from Mary Jane,
Oh,
and I
man.
remember my buddy going, "Well, that is the dumbest thing he could have," and I was like,
No, he
"But
had
no,
to.
that is the most Peter Parker thing."
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he had
could
to
have
do
done.
it. He had to do it.
Yeah, and so that led to a long conversation of me explaining.
After the movie was over, we walked out of the
Explaining
theater. We had a
Peter, yeah.
6-hour dissertation
Exactly,
about how
yeah.
Peter Parker had to leave Mary Jane and everybody else he knew behind, because if he didn't, his enemies would find out and they would use that against him.
Yep.
That's the point. That's the
Yeah.
point of Spider-Man 1 and 2 especially. So, dude, I'm loving
so-
this. By the way,
Yeah, so I
yeah.
do. Yes, I think that
Yeah.
they captured Peter
Mhm.
especially well in the
Yeah.
team.
And you brought up the Avengers 2012 was a banner year, brother. When that
Mhm.
first Avengers movie came out, the world lost their minds. It broke records, one of the highest, if not the highest grossing movie of all time at that point. And I'm thinking, oh, we can only go up from here now.
Yeah.
Like, we like all the movies were hits, but that movie was a mega hit. So you got to
Well,
like take everything into the equation.
Yeah, and as a comic fan,
Mm-hmm.
there are the moments, and I'm sure we probably could all pick our own.
So many of them.
That when you see it, because we're watching this movie,
But it's like a
but I
comic
have
book come to
but I
life.
have these comic book memories,
Mhm.
and there's that bit where Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor are together right after they've destroyed the forest, and the three of them are just standing there looking at each other, and that was my geek out moment because
that was your fist
I've
pump
seen
moment?
that panel
Yeah.
in a
That was
comic.
that was your fist pump right
Yeah.
there. You're like, yes.
And so it's those type of moments that,
Yeah.
oh my God, they pulled that right out of the comic books,
They-
and that's the stuff that I think they made for those of us that read the comics.
Mhm.
It's cool to the people that didn't know, but
Right.
it's extra cool to us, the little Easter egg nods and whatnot.
Yeah, well, by the way, no, I get you. Dutch Star Wars guy says comic book movie fatigue. Deadpool and Wolverine is breaking box office records. Get out of here.
Yeah.
And then Dutch Star Wars guy says flame on. That's a Johnny Storm reference. Thank you, Chris Evans. Yeah, just throwing that out there. But yeah, no, Marvel it's a deep well. It's a very deep Marianas Trench of a well. It's like,
And there's a lot of characters we've not seen in any of the movies or TV yet.
Don't worry, they're coming.
Oh, I'm
we all
sure.
know that they're coming. They're all coming.
But they've managed to take great characters who worked in comics and just
Guardians of
like,
the
okay,
Galaxy.
Hawkeye will, like me, I was like, Hawkeye, Wanda, Vision, none of those guys will, the Falcon, none of those guys will ever have their own movie. However,
Falcon's got his own movie now, doesn't he?
Yeah. And not only that, they have now become household names.
Yes. That Brave New World trailer that dropped. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Like that's honestly, I know Deadpool and Wolverine's a talk of the town right now because it's what's out in theaters, but I am really hoping that Brave New World breaks even more records when it comes out. Because that trailer, oh my dear God. It is so dark and so gritty. And you got the captain of the Millennium Falcon as the president for a second term in office. Second term, 20 plus years later, that we never thought we would see.
Not only that, who would have ever thought? This is going to be a spoiler for people, so if you don't want to hear this, close your ears for a minute.
No, it's all right. Yeah.
Who would have ever thought Harrison Ford would sign on to play a Hulk?
Yeah,
that's wild.
I was going to say when we were watching that trailer earlier, Harrison Ford looks so young in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then at the end you get the teaser with him grabbing the shield and throwing it to the ground and being ticked off at Cap. Clearly,
did you guys see any of him at San Diego where he's like on stage going?
And he's doing
No, I saw him walk on it, but I didn't see some of the stuff that was entered in at San Diego Comic-Con.
Like someone asked him a question. One of the questions about what was it like playing the Hulk, and he's like, it was like this. And he just starts.
He's like, Rah! No, I gotcha. A lot of great things to look forward to within the what is it called? The MCU. Outside the MCU, some other projects are coming to light. What is it? Daredevil's coming back in a big way here at some point in the future with Charlie Cox and Eldon Hansen, Karen Page, Wilson Fisk, I believe, is going to be making an appearance at some point. So, which by the way,
and there's still a lot of great comics out there to read. You can read.
Which is another way of us saying support your local comic shops. Go to your local comic shops, pay them a visit. I think you might learn a thing or two.
And if you're new to comics and don't know what you want,
ask somebody.
Ask them. They can recommend.
Ask the people that work.
Seriously, ask your LCS guys. It's perfect advice for anybody who wants to get into comics.
Yeah, because you can go in and say, I like this type of stuff.
I like Star Trek. You have any good Star Trek comics? Oh yeah, the ones written by Bobby Nash. Yeah, we got them right over here.
I wish I would write Star Trek in a heartbeat.
And that would make Chris Ingalls Day.
Yeah, but there are Star Trek comics. There are Star Wars comics.
Star Wars has got like what 6 titles going on right now?
Probably.
One of my all-time favorite comics. I'm not a big comic book reader.
No, it's fair.
My favorite combines 2 of my favorite fandoms: Star Trek and Doctor Who.
Oh,
where the 11th Doctor and the Next Gen crew come together to fight the Cybermen and the Borg. That was epic to me. I loved reading that.
And even better, there's a flashback in one of the issues where we see Captain Kirk and Tom Baker's 4th Doctor together,
fighting the Cybermen,
which is really cool. Yeah, no, that's an awesome book.
Feel free to look it up when you get a chance. Google it. Go to your local comic shop. See if they have copies of it. It's laying around somewhere. But by the way, you mentioned something about Marvel Comics here, Bobby. So I want to turn this over to the panel because we got to sort of do this rapid fire because we are. I love Marvel Comics, but this thing has been going on just a teeny weensy bit too long. But what's his name? Chris Ingle. Thoughts on Marvel Comics?
I love Marvel Comics. Like I said, I am not a reader of comics. I'll admit that. It's just not my medium.
No, I'm kidding.
It just is what it is.
It's fine. We still love you.
But I love the mythos that comes out of it. I can think of right off the top of my head TV shows that got me into wanting the mythos. 60s Batman, 100% absolutely. And Green Hornet, they go together in my opinion.
Green Hornet.
I've written Green Hornet. Now that one I've written.
Yeah, see, Bobby Nash has written stuff featuring Green Hornet. So you got to go back and read that, Chris.
Oh, I hated there was only one season. I was like, what is this? X-Men, Spider-Man, and of course, Batman the Animated Series.
Oh, TAS, baby.
Yeah, I mean, that's what brought me into it. And then it spread from there. Superman TV shows, Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman, Superboy, The Flash.
Freaking love Lois and Clark. Love Lois and Clark.
This stuff really starts to spread over time. And it's not just Marvel, DC too. I was getting a healthy dose growing up. But Marvel-wise, if it wasn't for the original X-Men, as we know it, and Spider-Man, the animated series, Marvel, I would not have been interested more in the Marvel universe as it was. Those 2 shows really brought me into it. And I did not know about the classic TV cartoons that you grew up with, but I knew about the Super Friends. Tell you all about the Super Friends.
Oh, yeah. Later on in the Hall of Justice.
Meanwhile, back at the Hall of Justice, Aquaman prepares a peanut butter and jelly sandwich because he can't do crap. Anyway.
Oh god, dude, we could. Anyway,
But yeah,
listen,
long story short,
yeah.
I love the comics today, and I had a coworker this last 2 years that I worked with, where every morning I'd come in, and you can't see it here, but my classroom is now just adorned with comic book posters. Not this room. Well,
it is a nerdy room, though.
It is a nerdy room, and all of my all of my Marvel villains are down here. They're all
Right
down there,
there.
including Galactus.
Galactus.
They're all. I love Galactus.
Bobby
So
Nash really likes Galactus too.
I have one of the big ones up there.
I do, and it's the only reason I absolutely hate Fantastic Four and the Silver Surfer.
Yeah.
I hated that one because Galactus
there it is,
was
Bobby.
That's
the little one. The big one's up there. But yeah,
same thing.
Big one's up there. Yeah.
The point is that you're absolutely right, and Marvel Comics are a
Lot of
plethora, and we've had such an experience in the 90s and beyond of Marvel TV shows that have done so well. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I learned so much watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and it got me into wanting to know more about S.H.I.E.D., because before that, S.H.I.E.D. wasn't touched on a lot. Nick Fury was still white. We didn't understand why. Nobody knows now that David Hasselhoff was Nick Fury.
Nick Fury,
I taped that when it first came out.
That's right.
Yeah, because we were so thrilled to have it.
Yes, that's right.
We got the guy from Baywatch as Nick Fury.
Good,
that was 97, I
it
think.
doesn't matter.
Or we got the guy known as Michael from Knight Rider.
Yeah, good, bad, it doesn't matter.
Hello,
the
Michael.
mythos from Marvel is just fabulous and large and in charge.
It's a big
and I'm glad
catalog.
we still have the MCU right now.
Well, especially with Brave New World, I'm like down to see that next, like tomorrow, Dion. I want to see that movie tomorrow. Like, let's go. It's a Brave New World, son. Let's go. Ray, what are your thoughts on Marvel Comics? Rapid fire.
Marvel Comics. Well, gee, I have one brother. He's 5 years older than me, and I learned a lot about comic books through him. He was born in the late 70s. So I had 1 foot in Gen X and 1 foot in Millennial. And it was really cool. When the 90s hit, there were certain things I loved about 90s lore and Marvel, but there were certain things I didn't like. Coloring went to digital, and in my opinion, very few artists were good at that time with digital coloring. It's obviously changed since then. Side note, my comic, The Madcaps, is colored by legend Dan Kemp, who's colored over 100 issues of Spider-Man, 100 issues of Spawn, Spider-Man during the Civil War era, Marvel Knights in the early 2000s. But anyways, during the 80s, my brother would tell me about all the cooler stuff that was happening before that current time. And as the further I got into the 90s, the further I was more interested in the older stuff. Just the way it worked out. But anyways, just to keep things kind of short here, Marvel, it was always really, really cool to see this finally got animated, and I actually got to see something I read about, but I can actually hear the voice now. I remember saying in a different podcast, something like Venom, although I was disappointed with Venom and Spider-Man, the animated series, not having anything to do with Secret Wars, and I'll just cut that short there. It was really cool. I would have never thought Venom's voice was like 5 voices talking to you at once. All those cool things about playing those into animated or live action, all these different dynamics you wouldn't have considered on the panel playing out. I was always just very impressed with that. I had, we mentioned 2002 Spider-Man. That was just really cool. We just came out of 9/11 at that time. And when you think of the glasses and leather trope at the time, from Blade to Underworld to The Matrix, even Daredevil had that dark, leathery grit look. Spider-Man just flipped the script and just says, "No, we're gonna have guts here, and we're gonna make doing the right thing far cooler than whatever we could look like." And I always thought that hit very hard. I think the first Captain America kind of hit the similar chord of doing the right thing was cooler than how cool you looked. I hope this new Superman movie strikes a similar chord, because we as humans, I believe, need that type of inspiration, for lack of better wording. The last thing I'll say on Marvel, and this is another thing I could go on and on about Marvel, just like you can, Bobby. Bobby, did you ever read anything with Ghost Rider by chance?
Mm-hmm.
Do you read the Dan Ketch, the second wave? So that very first artist, the first year, his name is Harvey Salteras. He drew one of my variant covers for my first issue of the Mad Caps. Here it is here. I don't know if you can see it, but
oh, that's very nice.
I don't have the color one in front of me. I could dig it up, but just to keep time running here quick. It is really terrific to see something where somebody just has an idea, such as Stanley and Ditko. You mentioned Spider-Man being your favorite, and just making these cool stories. Not all of them are amazing. You look back, and I'm sure the creators look at some of these issues. Like I think in the second or third issue, Spider-Man stopping aliens in a basement in a sewer. And I'm sure some of them are just like, oh, I can't believe we produced that. But it wasn't.
Some don't age well.
I was going to say, isn't that like the plot of an Aliens movie or something?
and it's okay. It's okay that those things played out. Like I've survived Spider-Man 3, the terrible Venom, another terrible Venom example. But I can look back at it now and appreciate it for that season of life when the three Spider-Men get together in No Way Home, and one says, "Oh, I fought an alien with a black goo. Oh, I fought a purple alien." It's canon, and that's okay. I don't have to like it. I can appreciate the arc for what it is. I can dislike that part. It doesn't shatter my world. It's just not one of the high points. Not going to say it's a low point, but I think you guys know what I'm saying. Marvel has just been such a definitive part in media for such a long time. It's so cool to see its longevity, its resiliency, and then just in some form or another, it seems to be going up despite its lows. Its highs keep going higher, if that makes sense.
Peaks and valleys, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And the peaks keep getting higher despite what the valleys are. But I'll cut short there. I could go on and on.
Really? I couldn't tell. No, it's fine. Listen, one of these days we'll do a 600-hour long stream, and then everyone can be here for free food, free cups of coffee. We'll just dive into stuff. Like Bobby's got tons of stories he could tell us. Chris has got a couple stories.
I was told there would be punch and pie.
Exactly. If we're gonna, those, by the way, those are all in the green room for you guys backstage. It's all in the house tonight. So
the 64th hour will be hallucinating, but we'll still try.
Yeah. We're gonna be hallucinating, and Bobby's gonna be writing another story about Green Hornet, but it's fine. It's all good. We love you, Bobby. Dion, rapid fire. What are your thoughts on Marvel Comics that hasn't already been said?
Man, very much like Bobby. Spider-Man was my first introduction to Marvel. He was the be-all, end-all of Marvel for me. I grew up on that animated series with Christopher Daniel Barnes. Stryker, like that guy. It's so good. But love that one. And again, being that young too, the toys, didn't really dive into a lot of the comic books. But I know for a fact, whatever cartoon medium that was showed, I would watch that. Then we got Boomerang, and then Boomerang was more Hanna-Barbera, but I somehow stumbled across the older animated series too. So I would watch those just to be like, okay, I want to know how those were too. I
think we've had an animated series every decade.
Yes,
more or less,
yeah. Spectacular Spider-Man, and then the one with Drake Bell as the voice. So there's been one for every generation, but. When it comes just to Marvel, the MCU, I saw the first Avengers movie 3 times. I saw it on a Thursday midnight showing. I saw it on a Saturday, and then a friend called me on a Sunday and say, "Hey, I haven't seen it yet. Do you want to go see it?" I was like, "Yes, I'll go see it." So I saw it 3 times in that opening weekend, and I just know Bobby talked about his moment in that movie where he said okay, they did it in the forest with Iron Man, Thor, and Cap. Mine will always be, and it still gives me goosebumps, is the hero shot of them circling all of them. So you have Hulk roaring, you have Iron Man floating down, you have Widow ready, you have it's so good.
Hawkeye.
That moment alone, that's when I remember in the movie theater, that very first showing, where I was like, oh my God, they did it. That was my initial thought. And from that time to now, just like Ray said, peaks and valleys, right? But there's so many peaks that I can forgive the valleys. I can get to They gave if Endgame would have been the very last thing that they ever made, I think we all would have been satisfied there. Because I walked out the theater saying, if that's it, man, that's a great ride. Yeah, exactly.
11 years. 11 years.
But then, we were invested, right? Just like that. But even with through these last phases, I'm still invested in it. Yeah, can it reach the height of what it was before? I'm not sure, but it's just as a fan,
shows the potential.
Yeah, and as a fan, when
Especially
I'm seeing these things, exactly, I was like, man, Sam Snap Wilson's not going to be in anything. Like just like Bobby said, I was like, I don't like. I mean, what was it? Was it Redbird, Red Hawk? What was his the bird? Because
Red Wing.
Red Wing. Thank you. Yeah,
Red Wing.
Yeah. I was like, they can never do that in live action. Now it's like a robot or a drone sort of thing now.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, you made it work. And Marvel always figures out that way to make it work.
Just enough.
Just enough.
Yeah.
We recently got like the Doom information too. Our obvious reactions are like, no. But we got a year to think about it, right?
It's a heck no for me.
And I've never. But here where it comes into fandoms
Seriously.
too. I've never read Infamous Iron Man. That's where I've been told that's what it's pulling from. So I have a year. I have a year to read that to sort of like. It seems like a dope story. But with Tony Stark and how Bobby said, Iron Man is a household name. Tony Stark is a household name. Now Bobby's gonna have to explain this to his mom again. Like, okay, this is why he's back.
I'm not gonna understand this either. When they dropped that at San Diego, I'm like, why? The guy left. He retired.
There's speculation. One of the what if stories in Marvel is if Tony Stark was roommates with Victor Von Doom instead of Reed Richards. It's very interesting. What happens in it is eventually Tony Stark, who is an intellectual superior, Doom starts to respect and gets him to help with the device. Now, in the 616 universe, this is the device that destroys his face, and he resents Reed Richards and blames Reed Richards for it. But in this version, Tony Stark is tricked, and Doom tricks him into building a device where they actually switch minds. So if we're dealing with the whole multiverse, that is the only way that's the only thing that sounds interesting enough to me.
Yeah. Or, because we do know that multiverse is involved with that, they could very well have him show up, kill him off fairly quickly.
Which what I'm sort of kind of hoping they do, because I'm like, RDJ, you can't play Doom. You just because you are nothing but Tony Stark. You're nothing but him.
I just saw something similar in Deadpool and Wolverine.
Well.
But circling back with the whole Spider-Man thing, with that being like my first initial Marvel, seeing Tom Holland as that relationship that they've created with him, he and Tony Hawk, the
skateboard movie I want to see. Dude, I remember playing that on PlayStation 1 back in the day, man.
Hey, that warehouse level was amazing.
Yeah, baby.
But,
hey, did you get that new Tony Hawk comic book? Oh, it's great.
but the relationship between the two, I can only imagine, like, if Peter, because no one knows he's Peter Parker Spider-Man anymore in that
Tony
universe.
Stark is his Uncle Ben.
Imagine him seeing Tony Stark if he takes off, the Doom mask or something. That's his guy. That's the face of like the person he loves most. So I think there's some emotional string there that's getting me there.
But potential there. That's true.
Yeah, there's potential there. But I Marvel again. They've pulled it off animated wise. They've pulled it off live action wise. Whatever they put out, I'm pretty much there for.
Dion and Bobby, I want to draw you a parallel to the two things that you're talking about before. Bobby, you had to talk about your favorite live action Spider-Man. For me, the Tom Holland one, I can't compare to the other two because it has so much support from the MCU, be it Tony Stark and all those other things. Where I'm going with this is if Tony Stark is playing Doom, it might be another thing where there's a bunch of support leading up to that. I have very big doubts. I'm open to see it before I make a final decision. But I do have kind of an alarm, like you're saying there, Ryan, of, well, nobody could step in and fill that. It sounds like
there's like a million actors in Hollywood, and they picked the one dude that they should.
It sounds like Robert Downey Jr. is going to have a decent paycheck, obviously, but if his face is all messed up, he's mostly going to be voicing his roles in this.
That's interesting.
But it also was big news. You know, I mean, announcing that was news because it was everywhere.
It also came across as desperation, as far as I'm concerned.
MCU is
we
desperate
need to
because
generate love back into this. Robert Downey Jr. I'm more interested. Who's the Avengers? Who's going to be fighting this guy?
Oh, the new team of people who are going to be fighting this guy? Yeah.
Yeah, like that's the big question. And if they're not confident behind that, well, here's Robert Downey Jr.
The Fantastic Four have to be involved. They have to be involved.
One can hope.
Well, they've already said
the Fantastic Four movie, even briefly. We know that.
Yeah, Pedro Pascal's in it. You got you got like 5 other people who are in it. Like really
There's
good.
a casting I'm not confident in. As
Doctor Strange mentions, he says, "Weren't you guys stuck in the '60s?" They mentioned that in Multiverse of Madness. So there might be a big buildup of why there has been no Fantastic Four this whole time.
We'll see.
It looks like they might be jumping back in, but yeah.
There's a lot of
that's all a lot of speculation.
There's
potential,
a lot of
we don't know.
And they did. Kevin Feige did say that at San Diego that the Fantastic Four would be in the 2 new Avengers movies.
See, it's going to happen. They're going to be
makes
involved.
sense.
You can't put in Doom in a movie and not have the Fantastic Four. That's like having a Venom movie without Spider-Man.
No Spider-Man.
Oh wait, they've already made 3 of those.
They did that.
They made 3 horrible, no good, trashy movies.
Raven's on the way too, by the way. Craven is on the way
dumb.
too. So.
Craven, Lion Man,
played by Quicksilver,
which, by the way, makes no sense to 1,000 degrees of the term. By the way, this is the meaning of fandom. Talking about different characters or fandoms that mean something to us and why. Clearly, we could do a 600-hour dissertation on Marvel Comics, thanks to Bobby Nash over here. But no, this has been a lot of fun. Do not forget to share your favorite fandoms, characters, and whatnot in the comments of the live chat. If you are watching this live or on a replay, we thank you so much for bearing with us as we go through a 600-page dissertation about the history.
I'm not mad about
comics. and what was I? Yeah.
There are worse things to talk about.
There are about it. Bobby, there are worse. You're absolutely right. And by the way, do not forget to like and share this, please, with all of your closest friends. Before I turn things over to our next panelist, because man, we are kind of running short on time here, because some of us have prior commitments on Fridays, at least for this Friday anyway. Dion, before I toss things over to you for your fandom, take a look at this, for instance.
This is where it all began.
I'm your worst nightmare.
The birth of the legend.
Justice will be served.
Is now the story you can own.
Bingo.
Witness the mysterious beginnings of Gotham's greatest protector.
They don't call you Batman for nothing.
Batman, the animated series. The legend begins. Look for it on video and DVD.
I mean, that brings back some nostalgia. Just a tad. Just a tad.
Just a little bit.
So, Dion, why did you choose The Dark Knight, the Caped Crusader, the world's greatest detective known as I'm Batman, as your fandom, and what does it mean to you?
I start off. The first ever thing I remember seeing Batman is obviously Batman '89. That was like that. We had that on VHS. Popped that in. Seems like every week it felt like. But there's also this thing that drew me to Batman too. Was growing up, went through. Some of us went through it. Was bullied in school, and I would always sort of think like, okay, let me just get home to sort of like either watch like the animated series or the movie. I was like, but through that, it sounds funny, but I think obviously superheroes are the best of us. Through Batman and through like just loving that character enough, it gave you the courage to sort of stand up a little more, instead of me wanting to like, okay, I just need to get home and I just need to watch that and things will be fine. No, it gave me the courage after a while to sort of, stand up to those bullies as I got older.
I can do this all day. Sorry, wrong.
Exactly.
Wrong universe. Wrong universe.
So
do not encourage Bobby Nash any more than you already have. Do not encourage him.
But yeah, but through that movie, Batman '89, Michael Keaton, the car, the suit, he couldn't turn his neck, but I loved it. I loved it so much. And what I would do, because I was young, I would watch the movie and I'd have like the box in my, like the VHS box in my hand while I watched it. I don't know why. And just looking at the back and reading the back. So then here we come with the animated series, right? One of the greatest probably the best animated series of all time. I know we talked about Gargoyles before, but come on, I think Batman may take the cake.
Yeah, I'd agree with you.
I wouldn't even go so far as to say it's probably the best Batman of all time.
Yes.
A lot of people have made that argument, Bobby. You're not alone in that.
I would agree.
So I get to that as well. That voice is when I see Batman, Kevin Conroy is who I hear.
When I read
Kevin
the comics,
Conroy
all I hear is Kevin Conroy.
Exactly. So I was going to jump to this earlier. So I own a few things, but this is probably like one of my prized things here. I got this signed by Kevin Conroy at a convention in Oklahoma City in 2017.
Beautiful.
And I even have a picture that I should frame. It's usually on that spot right there that's missing. But I just know that character just meant so much because I always saw superheroes as being the best of us. And Batman, especially this Kevin Conroy Batman, was the best of us. I never wanted to see him like turn evil. I never wanted to see anything like that or kill people. We can talk about that all day. But when it comes down to it, Batman sort of just gave me that strength to sort of keep going. I work in college athletics, and I've been in college athletics, also going to as an adult. And I've been working in college athletics for about 12 years now. Started out as that lowly intern. And I remember the very first football game I ever had to work on the sidelines. I was super nervous. But the night before, I bought this like Batman Under Armour shirt. And I wore that shirt every single Saturday, every single game day. Want to know a funny thing? I still have that, and I wear it when I feel like I need to wear something for this day, right? Like it's like, okay, this is gonna be that one of those days. I put that on, and it's like things are gonna be better now. Things are gonna be great. Things are gonna be good. But yeah, Kevin Conroy being that Batman, definitive Batman. I loved every movie. I don't think the first comic book that I really got wasn't like a genuine sort of comic book. It was a comic book tie-in for Batman Forever. And because we really didn't have a comic book store where I grew up, we'd only have like the grocery store comics and stuff like that. But I remember buying that one, and I read that one probably more than I watched the movie, which is not saying a lot. But but I needed everything Batman toys from McDonald's, the Batman glasses from
McDonald's, man.
Yes,
the Batman Forever, yes.
My cousin got the Batman one, and they gave me the Robin one. I was mad the whole drive home. I was mad.
You were ticked off, man.
So 2 years ago, I go online and I buy that glass, that Batman glass. So I do have it.
Yes.
But that was just it was just, he's just one of those characters I felt like just resonated with like, he had no superpower.
Right.
Like he had a large bank account, which we all want to have.
What are your superpowers again? I'm rich.
Exactly. But it was just that courage to like, I'm just a guy. I'm going to go out here and do these great deeds or things like that.
I have a quote for you, Dion. I think that applies here. There's nothing more scary than a motivated man with free time. And that's Batman in a nutshell.
And that is Batman.
He's got money.
Exactly.
And he just applies his will on whatever he wants.
Yeah, and again, it's easy to sort of look back and look through like my childhood growing up and like saying like, okay, I had all the Batman toys, all the Batman whatever. Like I needed everything Batman. That's how big of a fan I was. Posters.
That's a lot of merchandise.
My wall was covered. Now it's gotten to a point where I don't have to buy the stuff for me. People buy stuff as gifts for me. Most of the stuff on the back wall are gifts.
Oh, really?
So pay no attention to the Wolverine popcorn bucket.
Wolverine is just hey. Wolverine there, look closely. Wolverine is just two Batmen kissing.
Oh Lord!
I learned that once.
But yeah, like
it's
the
even
sign,
there. It's Batman.
The helmet there. Some other stuff. There's
you got a Batman bust hanging around back there.
Yeah, and so it's just one of those things where like
You're
I think over time exactly. So it's one of those times where it gives. I take it more as a courage thing. It's sort of pushing me to do like either the right thing or giving me that little added confidence through that. And I never knew I needed this. And he's the only superhero I'm not saying, maybe I'm not saying this correctly, but I didn't know I didn't need it until I saw it. And he teamed up with TMNT, my second favorite sort of property. And And those were great comic books. Those were great. I want a live action of that somehow. But Batman is always going to be my go-to superhero. The video games, the memorabilia, Kevin Conroy. Again, it hurt when he passed away. It really did.
Rest in peace,
because
because
you're like, he's been the voice for 20 plus years, 25 or so years.
Long time.
1992,
which is
that's 30 plus years.
Yeah,
a lot of history there, man.
So to do the animated series, do the animated movies, go
And
into
the video
Justice
games.
League Unlimited, then
JLU.
he's the voice of it.
And live action once.
And
he was
and
in
live
Crisis
action
on
once.
Infinite
Yeah,
Earths.
and
Crisis
live
on
action
Infinite
once.
Earths.
So but and then on top of that, just meeting your heroes too, meeting him in person.
He was a nice guy, wasn't he?
He was such a nice man. Like,
he is.
Usually you pay for like photos or anything. Once I got the autograph, he was like, "Hey, you want to take a picture?" I was like, "Yeah, I need to get that one framed too because it's on my Instagram feed, I think." But that picture is just me, just like nervous, happy, like all these emotions.
You were beaming.
It's not a terrible picture of me, but it's not the best one that I would want to take.
You can tell you're
with Kevin Conroy.
It's how you felt in the moment. That's
Yeah,
the deal.
and-
You felt so much emotion in that moment. You're thinking to yourself, "I'm never going to get another shot."
I'm like,
at this.
oh my God. And then like just talking to him, like I'm talking to Bruce Wayne. I'm talking
to Batman.
Like
I
it's
love
just like it's like, and I won't hold you up because I know you gotta go, Ryan. But it was like, when you were younger, you had like you sort of see the pretty girl across the room, and you're like, okay, here's the plan. This is what I'm gonna say when I get up there. I'm gonna be cool when I do it.
Yep.
I bombed so
Stick to
badly,
the script.
but it was
dude, you were fanboying too much. That was
but
the problem.
It was like I forgot everything that I practiced when I saw him, it was an experience that I'll never forget. And I told him there, like you are my Batman. Like Michael Keaton put on the suit, all these other people put on the suit and been Batman, but
you're the
have
one.
been
You're
my
the one.
Batman. And I was like, I was able to tell him thank you, which was a big thing for me too. But yeah, Batman will forever go down as and be just that ultimate and be all end all superhero and my ultimate fandom as well. Could talk about it all day. I'm fumbling over stuff because I'm trying to figure out other things I want to say, but I think, man, Kevin Conroy was the best Batman. And again, thankful that I was able to meet him before he passed away. And again, I fanboyed over him, and it was perfect. It was a perfect Saturday.
It was a good Saturday at the office.
Yeah. And he is part of a great double act with Mark Hamill.
Yes,
dude.
That too.
Dude.
Yes.
Mark Hamill quit when Kevin Conroy died.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He
No,
would
he's like, I'm
only
done.
use
Unless
the Joker
Kevin's doing it, I want
Kevin
no
was
part of it.
Batman.
Well, isn't it the Crisis on the new animated series? Is it part 3? I haven't watched.
Yeah, they have a
three,
small.
but there's a small part, and I saw a clip. Yeah,
That's
I saw
the
a
last
clip of
time
it
he will
online.
ever be
That's the
Batman.
last time, I think.
That's
yeah.
perfect ending for him, to be honest.
Crisis on Infinite Earth. By the way, I cannot wait to sit down and watch all 40,000 parts of Crisis on Infinite Earths because that movie looks really solid. I'm thinking to myself, I didn't read the comic book, the graphic novel that it's based on, until like a year ago. And
I was gonna say, if you haven't read it, you might enjoy it.
No, I did.
more
No, I
than
did. I
okay.
did. I read it, and I thought, there's no way they can make a movie out of this, but they're doing it, and I'm happy about it, and I can't wait to sit down and watch all 40,000 parts.
Yeah.
Thanks,
because I've seen parts 1 and 2 so far, and there's very little from the comic in the movies.
It's
All
like
right,
Captain America: Civil War.
Well, let's prepare ourselves for that. By the way,
Avengers 3.
Yes, thanks.
2.5.
Exactly, 2.5. Dutch Star Wars guy has something to say about this. He says, Conroy's the best Batman. Bale is the best live-action iteration of Batman. I said what I said.
Where are the drugs going?
I said what I said. By the way, he also goes on to say, Salvatore Valestra. Mi casa es su casa. Love Mark Hamill's Joker, says Dutch Star Wars guy. Yeah. Well, who doesn't? Honestly, if you don't like Mark Hamill's iteration of Joker, you're fooling yourself. Real quick,
go back and watch Tim Curry or listen to Tim Curry's voice.
Dude, I got to go back and listen to
appreciate
that.
Mark Hamill even more.
No, I got to go back and listen to that because I haven't heard it yet. I got to get on that. The Tim Curry iteration of Joker. I got to listen to that. But rapid fire. Yes, Ray. Yes.
I've got to sign off. If you're okay with using me for rapid fire first, and then
go ahead. Yeah.
I apologize for leaving
go ahead.
abruptly.
Go ahead.
I was in the 3rd grade when the animated series dropped in September of '92. I remember we had to go to my grandma's house, so I was able to watch it there. Now, depending where you are and depending when you've watched it, an episode, it's usually on Leather Wings with the Man-Bat, but where I lived, it was the one with Mr. Freeze. That was the first one that came out. Heart of Ice, and it was just an impact. Just like I mentioned Gargoyles, Batman the Animated Series had a better balance for a wider market, but it had the same thing where, is it too dark or is it not? And it really pushed that boundary, but it knew where not to cross. You mentioned earlier, Dion, about putting on the crest to get yourself hyped up and step up and do the job. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Kingdom of Heaven with Orlando Bloom. At one point, he knights everybody around him, and one fella scoffs at this action, says, "You think making everybody knights is going to make them fight better?" And he replies, he just says, "Yes. If you're going to wear the Batman crest, well, now I have to do it. I can't make this crest look bad." That's much of an impact of this person's willpower. Being Batman wasn't about power, abilities. It was about, I'm going to do everything in my ability to pull this off. I will impose my will. I will take whatever time is needed. I will sacrifice everything, including the reputation of my apparently real identity. And I don't care if that looks bad. This has to get done. I believe in this cause. And I think that is what has made him so popular for so long, the longevity of the character. And just on the last thing I'll say about that is, I think there's a real testament. Bruce Wayne is obviously not a perfect individual, but there's something about taking so much pain and trying to not have others go through that. And trying to say, I'm going to make some lemonade out of my experience for others. And maybe my parents will be proud of this in one form or another. I really respect all of the drive and everything leading up to that point. Unfortunately, I've got to go, guys, but thank you very much, Ryan. I'm happy to do this again. Fellas, bye for now.
See ya.
Take care.
Take it easy, man. Have a good one. Such a nice man. He is. I gave him an opportunity to plug his social media. I guess he didn't want to do it. It's all right. Links to where you can follow every one of our panelists are going to be located in the description of this video, so don't worry about that. Once again, this is the Meaning of Fandom, talking about fandoms or characters that mean something special to us and why. Do not forget to like and share this with every single person that you know. If you're joining us live or on a replay, we thank you for being with us. Real quick, though, rapid fire, and I do mean rapid fire. Rapid fire. Chris Single, Batman, go.
You guys have given Kevin Conroy love, and I absolutely agree. Kevin Conroy is the best Batman. However, he is not the Batman. Because that honor will always go to Mr. Adam West.
Adam West.
Oh, jeez.
I grew up.
That's a parody, though. It's a parody.
But here's the thing. In the same way that Bobby talked about how like TOS had reruns and stuff like that in syndication, for me, it was Batman, the original series. That was in syndication for me. And I watched that so much. That got me interested in Batman to the point that I remember being 5 years old, being at the drive-in movie theater. We used to go to the drive-ins a lot. And seeing a trailer for Batman. I was like, as a kid, that blew my mind. And so 2 months later, my parents we went and saw a movie. They saw the first one, which by the way was Leprechaun. I'll never forget that. They were watching Leprechaun and they're like, all right, son, you could just watch Batman on the other side. So I didn't know what they were saying, but I'm sitting there watching Batman while they're watching Leprechaun and I'm eating it up. But all of that in the end, for me, it's always Adam West. But you're right. Much love to Conroy. I love Conroy. Respect. And Conroy's performance in Mask of the Phantasm, in my opinion, makes him the best Batman on the silver screen.
There you go. Fair point. That movie turned 30 last year. We did a watch along for that. You should go back and watch that tape there, Chris.
I will say too, the 60s Batman, I take a little, it was not parody. That's what the Batman comics were like in the 60s.
Ouch. Ouch.
Batman in the 60s, before Neil Adams and Denny O'Neil got involved, were
the two big guys.
They were Batman was fighting aliens. It's this weird dynamic. Batman was fighting aliens and silly villains.
What?
Superman never fought aliens. It was a weird time. But that show, the show was very much like what the comics were.
Right.
And of that, they were
a product of their time.
They were a product of their time.
That's
and
fair.
I highly recommend to anyone, please watch the 2 direct-to-video animated Batman 66 films.
Return of the Cape Crusader, I think is one of them.
And the Two-Face one.
The Two-Face
with William Shatner as Two-Face.
With Billy Shatner as Two-Face. Billy Shatner.
I recommend that. If you're not a fan, but you're like, if you're not a fan of Adam West, please watch that. You're gonna get Adam West's voice, but it's punched up a little bit for a modern audience, but with that flair. Watch them. Watch them both.
And Amazon's new Cape Crusader series dropped
just
yesterday.
dropped all 10 episodes.
All the episodes, right?
Yeah,
I'm on episode 6. Right now.
I actually have finished them. They are really good.
How's it going so far?
They are really good. I have enjoyed them. It's got a little bit of the animated Batman the Animated Series flair. It's definitely set in the 30s.
Ooh,
Guy Joy,
roaring through. Okay,
and it is more adult. There is language. There are,
there's language in this.
Yes.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
There's cursing. Batman curses.
Oh yeah. There's some cursing. But real quick, I'll give you my really quick Kevin. Conroy
rapid fire,
story.
my friend.
Kevin Conroy. I met Kevin Conroy in Chicago at a show.
C2E2?
At that time, no, this is years before C2E2 didn't exist yet. And like the show was still on. This was early days.
Oh, this was way back.
So like he had no line. He was just sitting there, and I went, "Hey, you're Kevin Conroy." And we chatted for a while. He signed my book. It was great. But at that time I was working for a magazine, and so we set up an interview. And so I come home one day. I'd gone to the post office or somewhere, and I come in, and I've got a message, and I clicked my answering machine, and Batman starts talking to me.
Oh, you got a voicemail from Conroy?
I have a voicemail.
Oh my goodness!
That was 20-some years ago, so I no longer have it. But
that's such a bummer you didn't save it.
Cloud 9 of just Batman's voice coming out of there, going like, "Hi, Bobby," and this is it was just So that's my Kevin Conroy story. So.
Wow, that's hashtag like a boss. So that's great. I wish you could have saved the tape of that message and played it for us here on the air.
They didn't serve. I mean, I kept it, but they deteriorate. So
no, but I'm just saying, like, I wish you had access to it so that all 4 of us can hear it, because I would love, especially Dion's going to lose his mind.
I would.
For sure. This is Batman. But listen, this has been great talking about Batman. But I got to tell you something. I waited a long time for this. Now, granted, it took me 6 years to get on this bandwagon. And I watched the movie featuring this fandom several years ago, actually, for the first time. And I thought, oh my gosh, why didn't I watch this before? And before we talk about my fandom, here's this for you that I think you're really going to enjoy. A trip down memory lane. Take a look.
Who is it?
Bonsai! Daniel LaRusso here for LaRusso Auto. We are chopping prices on all of our inventory. Johnny? I knew it was you. This is Johnny Lawrence. He and I go way back. Oh, this is a guy whose ass you kicked. If you want to get technical, I kicked his face.
Hey, where you going, Coleman?
Oh, I didn't know you guys were trying to buy beer.
Hey! Watch your car, man. Get the hell out of here, loser.
Was that like Taekwondo or something?
It's karate.
Do you think you could teach me?
I'm driving home from work yesterday, and in this strip mall, I see... After 30 years, I thought that guy might have changed, but he's still the same prick. I heard you beat up a bunch of teenagers.
I didn't beat up any teenagers. I kicked the crap out of a bunch of assholes who deserved it.
Thinks he could bring Cobra Kai back to the Valley? Yeah. Not on my watch.
You want those kids at school to keep dumping things on your head? You want all the girls to think you're a wangless dork? You're gonna be my karate teacher? No. I'm gonna be your sensei. here to teach you the style of karate that was taught to me. A method of fighting your pansy ass generation desperately needs.
Okay, let's see what you got.
She's a girl.
And?
I'm sorry. Are you okay?
Girl's a natural cobra.
Johnny, you and I, we aren't done.
Man, who'd have thunk that a movie that came out 40 years ago, 40 years ago, could be resurrected as one of the greatest television series, arguably, of all time, and one of the best reboots / continuations of a storyline in the history of Hollywood. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Cobra Kai. I got my shirt on. I got another shirt in the wardrobe. Why? Because my brother has been convincing me for years to watch Cobra Kai. And it took me until, recently to sit down, binge watch the first 5 seasons. And now I got to say, this is one of the best TV shows I've ever seen in my flipping life. I'm telling you, the writing is great. The acting is great. The storylines are very relatable in terms of bullying, cyberbullying, how things for this new generation of kids are very, very tough and challenging for them to be in schools amongst this influx of technology that, unfortunately can be used against you in very harmful ways, whether it's posting embarrassing videos of them on social media, whether it's bullying them in the hallway and you get the surveillance footage of it and you post it on your TikTok. But now Johnny Lawrence comes in and says, no. I'm going to teach you guys how to defend yourselves against these bullies. I'm going to teach you how to do it the right way. But LaRusso thinks otherwise and says, wait a minute. You can't bring back Cobra Kai. Not on my watch. No. Miyagi-Do is going to come back. So it's just like, the rivalry from 40 years ago, guys, 40 years ago is reignited. And I got to tell you, I love this series from start to finish. Great cast. A lot of young up-and-coming actors are in this, including Blue Beetle himself, Zolo Marijuana, who plays Miguel, one of the lead characters in this show. Is Blue Beetle, which is insane. So crossover between DC and Karate Kid.
There you go.
And which is Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, Dion, let me tell you. So if you have never heard the name The Karate Kid, show me paint the fence. Show me sand the floor. Wax on, wax off. Remember to breathe. Very important. Breathe. It's so many great life lessons can be learned from not just the original movie, The Karate Kid from 1984, but also the series. You can learn a lot from this story, man. I'm telling you, it's solid stuff. I mean, you can say that it's a product of their time, right? The 80s were good. They were fun, wholesome, cheesy. But this show can get dark, and it gets a bit gritty at times, too, showing the consequences of one's actions and how it can affect you more so as an adult than a kid. It's wild stuff. So I'm loving this. So rapid fire, because unfortunately I'm being called to another commitment in another studio. Dion, real quick, Cobra Kai.
I've watched the first 2 seasons, I think. Was the first season the finale when they all fight in the cafeteria or the school? Is that first or second season finale? I can't remember. But that's when my wife was like, okay, I'm out of here. Because she was like, where's the teachers? Where's the, how is this happening? How is a riot happening at school and no one knows it? But just to get into just the lore of I guess Karate Kid, it's wild that they were able, like you said, to bring it back and then sort of make us turn it on its head and make a spinoff of the villain essentially of the series or the first movie. And now we're rooting for him and his school and things like that. So I love it. I have Cobra Kai socks. I don't have a shirt, but I'm on board. So
get on it, man. Get the shirt. Go to TeePublic and get the shirt. Get some shirts. TeePublic has everything. Chris Ingle, real quick, thoughts on Cobra Kai? Strike first, strike hard, but show mercy. What do you think?
Haven't seen it. Be honest, it's on my list. I have seen all 5 Karate Kid movies.
Mm-hmm.
And in general, I like them for the most part. So Cobra Kai's been on my list for a while.
Get on it, man.
But unfortunately, CSI as on my list right now, and that's taking forever.
Oh my.
That's like 50 seasons of television.
I know.
Yeah, you gotta have a long road ahead of you before you get to Cobra Kai. But you got some homework to do. But hey, listen, enjoy CSI because there's some really good episodes, really good shows, and a lot of great guest stars who have come across the desk of CSI offices in Las Vegas, Miami, New York, the cyber unit that existed for 2 minutes.
I only watch Vegas. My wife is a Miami person, but me, I stick with Vegas.
Okay, it's all right. Vegas, baby. Vegas. Bobby, real quick, Cobra Kai.
I've not watched all of them. I was in an episode. Most of my stuff got cut out, but I did work on an episode. And so I have been inside the Cobra Kai dojo, which this may burst some bubbles, is a daycare center.
Oh,
they're not going. Yes, you go through the Cobra Kai. There's snakes all over the. You go in, and there's all kind of toys laying around. It's really weird. But it was great cast. It was great fun working with them. My scene, it got cut, but I had a scene with the 2 lead kids, the guy with the mohawk, and the 2 so it was great. It was great fun. I've only seen a little bit of season 1. I have not had a chance to finish the rest of the seasons, but there was a great cast. It was a great experience, and I get So for most of the episode, as they're yelling at each other out in the parking lot, I'm just on the other side of the glass. Listening.
That's interesting stuff. Really good stuff. And thank you for sharing that with us. Well, guys, we're gonna have to wrap this up here. All the links where you can follow myself, the great panelists, all the guests that have come across here in this episode of the Meaning of Fandom, located in the description below. Thank you all for being here. Bobby, thank you for being here. Chris, thank you for being here. Dion, Ray, all of you guys, you're great. You're wonderful. Remember, strike first, strike hard, but show mercy. Cobra Kai never dies. And once again, we will be back for the Meaning of Fandom once a month, first Friday of every month. We will be back for the Meaning of Fandom with a new group of panelists talking about what a specific character or fandom means to them and why. So in the meantime, like, comment, share, subscribe, ring the bell to be notified of when our videos go up or they go live. And remember, life is better when celebrating your favorite fandoms. Take a look.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
Tell us about yourself. Who are you?
Tell me! It is a gift.
A privilege.
Behold. My stuff.
Ooh.
Now you want to get nuts? Come on! Let's get nuts.
I like it.
I know, it's great, right?
Another!